Schefter just tweeted that the Antonio Brown deal is now official. Bruce Arians, who was pretty vocal about AB not fitting in with this team earlier this year, talked to Peter King about the short leash that AB is now on, saying this: he screws up one time, he's gone. I don't think he will because he wants to play. I love Mike Evans. Today he didn't touch the ball till the fourth quarter, but he just wants to win. Chris Godwin, same way. Gronk, same way. If AB's not that way, then we're going to have a problem. B. Brian Westbrook back with us. Doesn't feel right for me to give you the B nickname the way Brandon does. It just didn't roll off my tongue. So, Brian, I will ask you this. Will Antonio Brown be a good fit in Tampa?
You know, Jenna, I think you're great in the Zoom meetings, and I think you're even better on the show. So let's start there. Here's a question for Antonio Brown. I don't know that I'll start here. I know that on the field he's a good fit. He can run every route on the route tree. He can catch the ball short and take the ball the distance. He can run deep routes and get open. He can run crossers and get open. We know that across from Mike Evans, he can be one of these guys that can be prolific on the football field. The big question, and the question that nobody, and I mean nobody except for Antonio Brown, can answer is how he's going to be off the field. Is he going to be a distraction? Is he going to be one of these guys that comes in and causes a problem? And Bruce Arians has already said, if he doesn't do everything the right way, then he will get kicked out of there as fast as he was brought in there. So I think Antonio Brown, a guy that's been out of football for a very long time, says, okay, I missed the game. I'm just going to try my best to fit in and go out there and play. And I think if he does that, he'll certainly be successful on the football field.
All right, so I think he'll probably work out on the field, but we're now to a point where we must acknowledge the other things that go along with adding Antonio Brown. And when Bruce Arians called him a diva, when Bruce Arians said he wasn't a fit, when Bruce Arians said we're not bringing him here, those things don't change just because your wide receiving core gets banged up. And by the way, their whole core played this past weekend. They might not be 100%, but a lot of guys aren't 100%. But I do think this shows the massive power Tom Brady has in the organization. Because, I mean, Bruce Arians was considered, he just got an award for it. I apologize, I can't remember the exact name, but one of the champions for women in the NFL. And this undercuts that quite a bit, given what Antonio Brown's been accused of and what Antonio Brown is still entangled in legally. So the only reason you do that is, A, if the most important guy on your team, Tom Brady, really wants it, and B, you really believe he can make you that much better. And while I agree there is very little risk here, I do wonder, Brandon, how much reward is there really? You've made a big point, and it's not wrong, that the last 5 weeks, Tom Brady's numbers have been the best 5-week stretch of his career, save his 2 MVP seasons. That what he's done post-week 2 is vintage peak Tom Brady statistically. So and he's doing that with a banged-up receiving core. So how much better does AB make you? And how will this land, forget with your fans, forget with the people who work for the team, how will this land with Mike Evans, who was already on pace for his worst season since his rookie year, for Chris Godwin, who's never been paid in this league? Like, to me, those are legitimate questions to ask, but Brady must really, really believe that this is going to work after his experience of one good half playing with AB in New England.
Yeah, well, that's a lot. You threw a lot at me, right? So first of all, let's talk about AB as the player, as the person, excuse me. I believe in second chances. I think we all believe in second chances. And last year, the thing that was so alarming was his inability to change, his want to not want to change. And I think he may be on the right track. Because when you look at just him going from someone who was making a lot of headlines, there was a lot of things he was doing digitally and socially in the last couple of months since the suspension, he's been in hiding. So I don't know if he seek the help that he needed. I'm not sure, but that is a step in the right direction. Let's say he's going to come in and be a model citizen. Let's say he's going to come in and do the things he needs to do. And then we shift to the field. On the field, I think it's a great fit, Jenna. And the reason why I think it's a great fit is because of Tom Brady. Nick, you keep talking about, like, Tom Brady is the one that made this decision. I know there's this back and forth between Bruce and everyone else talking about, well, Tom had nothing to do with it. No, it's because of Tom. Tom has been the one that stood on the table since the New England days for AB. I don't know what type of chemistry they have because, to me, AB is more of a freelance wide receiver. When you look at the things that separated him from everyone else in the league when it comes to playing the position, has been his ability to get out of the original play and go to the next one. Like, he'll run it in, and then he'll run to the corner, Big Ben scrambling, and then you'll see those big plays. That's not Tom Brady's game. Tom Brady's game is be where you're supposed to be, and the ball's going to be there. So something happened in New England where these two got on the same page, and Tom Brady loved what he saw. So for that reason, I think that from a chemistry standpoint, it makes sense because your wide receivers are banged up. Nick, 80%. Dealing with a hamstring injury, dealing with a high ankle, that limits you extremely playing this position. You can't be effective when you can't run. And that's what we're seeing with that position group in Tampa. Mike Evans, you're saying, you already said it, this is going to be one of his worst years. Well, that's why you need help, and that's why you go out and get AB.
Reportedly, AB slated to play for the Bucs on week 9. All right, let's move along, talk some Cowboys now. Nothing going right for this team of late. Dallas off to a 2-5 start. You got anonymous players calling out the coaches. McCarthy's mad at guys for not sticking up for quarterback Andy Dalton. It's a mess down there in Dallas. But Stephen Jones showing confidence in his first-year coach, saying yesterday, I know we've got the right head guy for the job. Brian, what would have to happen this season for Jerry Jones to fire Mike McCarthy?
Jenna, there's absolutely nothing that can happen this season for Jerry Jones to fire Mike McCarthy. Don't forget, Jason Garrett was in Dallas for 10 years. 6 of those seasons, they were 8-8 or worse. So, I mean, he didn't have a great, successful run there in Dallas because 6 of those seasons they were 500 or worse. The other part is that Jerry Jones, he invests in these coaches and he feels like they're a part of their family. Don't forget, Mike McCarthy, the reason why he got this job is because they had a sleepover at Jerry Jones's house. That's why he got this job. Things went well. I think they end up firing the defensive coordinator. Mike McCarthy keeps his job.
Okay, so that seems like a halfway measure then, Brian, and I'm okay with that because I don't know when Mike Nolan is going to do something other than put Tabasco in his eye that makes a positive headline, Brandon. I think that if McCarthy is going to stay, then he's got to look around and be like, all right, guys, I'm staying. Mike Nolan, you're probably not the right fit. And I'm not saying he should get fired, but perhaps a reorganization of the defense just to give them some sort of spark on that side of the ball.
Yeah, no, I'm with you here. To me, they brought in Mike for 2 things, leadership and offense. And when you look at what they were doing with Dak, they were turning the ball over, but they were averaging 450 yards a game. They didn't bring him in to be the defensive guy. They brought him in to make sure that he had the staff in place. We're seeing that he doesn't. Yeah. So I'm with you, B. I don't believe that Coach Nolan makes it through this year. He's definitely not making it to next year. And for that reason, he gets another year.
All right, I was with you guys. And then I watched this weekend's game, and I said, okay, everything's on the table. And I don't think Mike McCarthy is going to be fired during this season, but I'm no longer convinced he's going to be the head coach there next season. The Dallas Cowboys, you can look this up, have the worst point differential in the NFL.
Yep.
Now, if you look that up, it actually will say they have the second worst point differential, but the worst is the Jets. So like I said, in the NFL, the Cowboys have the worst point differential. But the other reason maybe Mike McCarthy gets fired is, did Jerry Jones know who he hired? At Mike McCarthy's opening press conference, he's asked about watching every single play of the Cowboys last year. He had plenty of time. And he's like, yeah, I actually didn't do that. I wanted the job. And now listen, we've all lied in an interview, or I've lied in an interview before, but I didn't tell the folks I lied right after they hired me. And then there was a curious moment, Jenna, before this week's game where I think it was an NFL Network reporter was like, I talked to Mike McCarthy, and he says his analytics department has brought to him this amazing stat. If you go 4-2 in the division, you usually win it. And I'm watching that thinking, this dude said he spent a year in a barn, a week into Pro Football Focus, deep diving into analytics. And the best he can come up with is winning division games help you win your division. That ain't analytics, bro. That's logic. And so I do wonder if Jerry Jones watching this saying, this isn't who I thought I hired. And if they continue to get dog walked the way they did this past weekend, then I'm not certain he's the coach the next time Dak Prescott plays a game for the Cowboys.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from First Things First, or go watch a few segments from our other shows on FS1.